We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
And let's face it, with new construction technology, these homes are fairly tightly sealed.
Extremely.
Right? In the old days when you had horsehair and insulation and fieldstone and all that, the homes would breathe so much easier.
Definitely.
Now we want to be able to be warm. We want to be energy efficient, if you will.
Yep.
And so as a result of that, you're trapping this gas.
Correct.
Now, it's a second most leading cause of lung cancer nationwide, right?
Second only to smoking cigarettes.
That's crazy. I don't think very many people realize the threat that this particular gas poses.
Sadly, they don't.
Now, as far as the solutions are concerned, the solutions are relatively simple, right?
Very simple.
So tell us a little bit about that. What's the solution, really?
Essentially, if you test your home and find you do have an elevated level of radon, it's simply just mitigating that. So we essentially, to put it in short terms, create the pathway of least resistance and pull the radon out from below the basement floor before it has a chance to come in, pipe it out, and release it above the eave of the roof.
Now, you mentioned testing.
Yes.
For someone who hasn't done this in the past, the testing in and of itself, A, it's not that expensive.
Not at
and
all.
B, it's really quite simple to be able to do.
Extremely simple. So there's test kits available anywhere. You can easily test your home at any time. We provide them, and it includes the report for $25. And that's postage to the lab. We don't physically do the testing, but we'll provide it for you.
How long does a test take usually?
Typically, you want to leave the canister undisturbed in the basement for 48 hours.
Yeah, no opening windows.
Exactly.
You want to keep everything how it is. And you mentioned something, if you currently own a home and want to just see if there's any radon, what's the best time of year to do it?
I would do it in the winter. If it was my house,
So
I
right
would
now.
do it in the winter, absolutely. Because as soon as the ground freezes, it's easier for the soil gases to come up through our basements because
Sure.
we've dug down below grade.
Right.
So everything's frozen outside. It wants to, just escape. It just wants to be out in free air, so it comes in through.
We bust myths on this show, right? The
Okay.
premise of this whole show was to be able to bust myths. Once I've tested my home for radon, let's say I've put an offer in, I did my radon, the radon was high, and it was mitigated, and we'll talk a little bit about that part of it.
Okay.
And then I'm now the owner of the property. Do I continue to monitor this radon?
I would. If you have an active system working in the house, the EPA actually recommends you retest every 2 years. And that's just to give more peace of mind and make sure that there haven't been new pathways created.
Given the fact that Waltham is touching all these really expensive towns, do you think that there is a halo effect, and have the residents of Waltham benefited from that halo effect of rising, appreciating prices?
Oh, absolutely. We've seen prices go up since 2011, about 25% at this point, 6% last year alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So back to my point where if you wait around, if we continue on the same path, it's going to cost you 6% more to buy that, do that math. That's
2017.
that's a crazy, crazy number.
25 grand more next year, perhaps. Yeah.
We call you the listing machine, and there's a wealth of knowledge that you bring to the table, a wealth of experience that you bring to the table. There's no doubt about that. One of the things we talked about during the intro was there's this article that's floating around, Realtor.com. Got to give them credit. Excellent article out there, which talks about seller etiquette. And I really want to touch upon some of the things. And you yourself have certain stories, actually, that sort of support some of that etiquette.
Sure.
So let's talk about that.
Sure.
One of the things that they talk about is, and I'm just turning to this article, it's coined leave. So do you think that A, you agree with it, and B, do you think that the seller should linger around if you're showing prospective buyers the house?
It's the first rule in real estate. I ask my sellers, you're better off not being there. Buyer wants to imagine themselves living in the home, and they have a really hard time with that if they see the seller sitting on the couch in their pajamas.
And so that sort of supports the whole depersonalizing, decluttering thing, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like the buyer wants to go in there and wants to talk to his significant other or his partner and talk about how the property is. listen, sellers don't take light to how you're commenting about your purple rug, your pink rugs and their,
that's true.
the wallpaper and so you take the emotion on. That's why we always talk about, these for sale by owners. People think they can all go out and do it themselves. If nothing else, having a real estate agent protect you from people's opinion of your house where you've lived for 10, 20, 30 years is worth its weight in gold. So leave. Don't sit there and be subjected to, what people think about your
I didn't think
curtains.
about that part of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Get out. Leave.
Pets.
Beat it.
Yeah.
Pets. What should
Pets.
they do with it?
Same situation, bring them outside. Just had a situation last week, actually. A seller couldn't get their dog out of the house, left it in the basement in a crate, barking the whole open house.
Oh,
Do you think
wow.
buyers felt comfortable walking through the property?
They didn't.
Some folks were scared to go in the basement. I
You
said, "Don't worry."
actually were bit by a dog in a
I
listing
was
presentation, weren't
about
you?
a month and a half ago. Yep, sitting right there at the table, and lo and behold, she's like, "He doesn't really like men," and
Oh.
nipped me right in the left side.
Yeah. Well, you should put them in a bedroom. That you don't just cover Massachusetts. You cover New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. You've got 5 trucks on the road at all times. You're answering your phone from when to when?
From 7 in the morning till 9 at night, 7 days a week. And it drives my wife nuts. But
Yeah, but
it's how I started the business. Why should I change if it's successful?
well, one of the things, obviously I'm on the lending side of things, and I hear a lot of real estate agents or my buyers come back to me after a home inspection, and they're out of their minds. Oh my God, there was a foundation crack. Oh my, the house is going to fall to the ground.
Structural issues.
Structural issues. I want $15,000 off the price of the house. Hans, you know what I'm talking about, right? People get a little crazy with the home inspection. Talk to us a little bit about the severity of cracks. I mean, we just talked about we all have cracks in our basement, and sometimes they're man-made. Sometimes they're made there on purpose. What are some signs that people, as they're walking through a house, go, yeah, that's fine, or that needs some attention?
Right. First of all, there's 3 things in life you're sure on: death, taxes, and if you have concrete, it's going to crack.
Okay, love it. I'm going to add that to that term now. If I
No
say it.
problem.
Yeah.
If you look at a sidewalk, they put lines in the sidewalk or in the big box stores in the floors. That's really a controlled crack. But to answer your question, with a crack in a poured concrete foundation, if it comes off of a corner and it goes down at a great angle, there's a chance that could be a structural issue. It doesn't mean that you should walk away from the deal.
Right.
I can't say inexpensive, but there's logical ways to fix it without ripping down that foundation and re-pouring it. We can use carbon fiber blankets that are 10 times stronger than steel that, reasonably priced, is a good fix for that. But most cracks, I'd say 95% of them that we go out on are non-structural cracks. Now, I can assess it by either a picture or a phone call as to, is it structural, is it non-structural, and give you a price on it.
Interesting. So you don't have to visit the site, is what you're saying.
Most of the time not, but there are times in certain situations I do need to.
Every once in a while, you look at a particular foundation and you see this white powdery stuff on the concrete. What in the world is that? What's going on there?
Yeah. I get people calling, I got mold on my foundation. Well, it's not mold. What it is effervescence. It's caused because the lime, the minerals, and the salts that are in the concrete are being pushed towards the inside from the water or water vapor. And that's what you see.
Interesting. Rick was talking about, and by the way, I think buyers in general, but first-time home buyers in particular, they see a crack and they automatically think that it could be $1,000 repair, but it could be a $15,000 repair. They always think the worst. But most cracks that I've seen, they're on the wall of the foundation, but I have a crack right through the floor of my foundation. Is there more concern, less concern with regards to the location of the crack necessarily on the floor versus the wall?
Well, most floor cracks and wall cracks are called settlement or shrinkage cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Concrete has water in it. And when it evaporates, the concrete will shrink and you get a crack. The concerns that you look for in a wall or a basement is if there's deflection. And what I mean by deflection is if one side of the crack is further ahead or on a floor higher up than the other side. If you, on a wall, if you put your hand across it at a 90-degree angle, if it isn't on the same level, parallel, eighth of an inch is okay, but you start getting into a half inch, you want somebody to look at that.